Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode number 60. How shielded are you? I'm your host, Jeff Hallish. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me introduce the co-host. We have Paco LeBron from Prodigy Techs. Paco, how you doing?
Better than I deserve.
Good to have you, man. And we also have Andrew Bagrin from OmniNet. Andrew, how you doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Good to have you, man. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do a little call to action. We got something coming up here in a short few months. And Paco, what would that be?
I'm quite impressed that you used the marketing term of call to action, Jeff. That is amazing. So as much as we know you love marketing, but what you're referring to, outside of that gesture is our in-person event in September called TechCon Unplugged. We will be in person in Chicago, September 17th to the 19th at the beautiful Aloft Hotel. We recently released the vendors that will be involved. Huntress, Datto, Magnus Box will be a few that are going to be there of the many growing list. We have a few more that will be joining us on there soon. We're just waiting for the contract ink to dry. And our good friends at Channel Pro will be covering the event as well. So really excited to bring this in-person event again. Back in 2019 when we had it in Grand Rapids, it was a great time. Everyone had a great experience, especially just with all involved. And we're hoping to replicate that this year after we had to cancel for last year. So we're hoping to knock it out of the park again over in the new city. And really, for the ticket price of $199, we're going to make sure that you're fed well. It's going to cover all your meals, along with possibly a great entertainment that we have planned for not only Friday night and Saturday night for those evening socials. We're going to be over at Dave & Buster's on Saturday is what's currently planned. And again, it'll be a great time for everyone to just gain a lot of information, know about either vendors you're partnering with or new vendors that you may not have heard of or have been meaning to reach out to, just haven't had the chance to really get up close and personal with them. But speaking of up close and personal, we are going to be able to press elbow or touch elbows because we can't press the flesh because of everything that's going on this time of day. But it's going to be a great time. We've actually been able to coordinate a great hotel rate at $124 a night with free parking, which is a very rarity in Chicago. So, and we're right by the O'Hare Airport. So it's going to be not only convenient to get to this place, but it'll be at a great value. And as always, we'll try to take care of you as best we can. So if you're interested, feel free to head over to techconunplugged.com to purchase your ticket. Again, September 17th to the 19th later this year.
And I encourage everybody to be interested. So just go over there anyways and get your tickets for $199. It's the best deal in town. All right. With that being said, Andrew, let's talk a little bit about you and basically where did you come from and how did you get to be doing what you're doing today?
Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Yes. So I got to think way back. In the old age, you start thinking back and you go, where did I come from? So I've had a long history in cybersecurity, and really, I initially got into it by accident. I started to work for MSP at the time as just an IT consulting company, and I was the new young kid, and I'm sitting there trying to get Cisco certifications, my MCSE and other things, my Novell certification. And, I get distracted a lot because it's like, hey, we got somebody who wants a checkpoint firewall installed. Does anybody know it? Give it to the new kid to figure out, So I was the new kid sitting there trying to figure out what the hell is a firewall and, trying to figure out how to do this stuff. So a lot of nights in the lab, everything, but another one came up, before you know it, a couple of years later, Andrew's the firewall expert. So from there, I did a big install at a big corporation, billion-dollar corporation, and went to work there. Worked there for about 4 years, and then went to work for Checkpoint. Checkpoint hired me. I ran an engineering team there. It's focused on service providers. So a lot of my work was large MSSPs, service integrators, brand names like IBM, AT&T, Accenture, Unisys, those guys, and led a team of around 12 SEs that focus on those accounts. And then after that, I went to work for Fortinet, starting out their service provider team, which was just getting started at the time, zero revenue. Worked there for 5 years, and we grew that from when I left, it was well over 50 million a year, but when I started, it was zero. So and that team is growing strong, really big now. So, all that kind of shows how important managed security services are, is going through those paces there. But of course, during the time, what I had in the back of my head is, how do I take the great things that we're doing it and take it down market? Like, how do we make it more transactional, easier? Because it felt like we're setting up some cool and interesting things, and especially I focused a lot on this idea of deploying firewalls in the data centers at these large service providers, and then they're able to turn up customers pretty easily on their MPLS network. So I was, hey, how do we take that down market, right? Because this makes a lot of sense to make it transactional and easy. And working on that for a long time with through Checkpoint, through Fortinet, and a lot of these service providers, it just proved to be really, really tough to get something like this started, because if there is no market demand, strong market demand, these people will not spend millions of dollars to go and build something. So felt really strongly about it for a long time, and at one point decided to. There might have been alcohol involved, but decided to. This is a great idea. Why don't we go and just build this ourselves? So that's exactly what we did. Went out and knocked on some doors, and it seems like there was a need for it. So we formed a company and started going out there. And the one thing that we did, the one big mistake that we made initially, and this is probably a little bit of overlap from when we had this interview before, is we actually went out directly to these small businesses and knocked on their doors and tried to sell us to them. And really quickly we learned that hey, there's this entire channel that manages all these companies' IT, and we're fighting against them. Why are we doing this? Doesn't make any sense. So we quickly pivoted and did an all-channel play. And since then, we've been never took on a direct customer. Everything went through the channel, and that's the way we're continuing on. So that was kind of like the history of where we got started. Now, along the way, we learned a lot of stuff, right? We just started security only, make it as simple, transactional as possible. One of the big things that we learned is, unlike the large enterprise world where there's MPLS, there is all of this expensive internet connectivity, everybody uses broadband. And the reality is they're selling you a business, DSL or cable circuit, but that's their residential platform. And it's broadband, right? And you're going to have packet loss. You're going to have these type of problems. Some areas are great, and the value is amazing. Customers were satisfied with the old My Digital Shield stuff, and they were super happy, and it was very cost effective. But a lot of places in the country, it was just a disaster because now we're putting a tunnel on top of this mediocre connectivity, and as soon as you start getting packet loss, the tunnel starts dropping, needs to reestablish, and the small problem they have becomes a big problem. So we have to figure out, how do we not only fix what we're doing, but solve their problem as well. And this is kind of the second phase or evolution of the company. And this is kind of where we switched over to the OmniNet part of the company. We introduced a technology called SD-WAN. And SD-WAN, what it is basically is, it takes your internet connection and it figures out where the breaking points are. It optimizes it. It does some packet replication where needed. You could take multiple internet connections, stack them together, load balance, all the great stuff. All in all, what it's trying to do is turn an average internet connection into a great internet connection. Because the reality is every business today, 20 years ago, businesses, if they had an internet connection, they'd use it to check their email and maybe surf the web, right? And that's pretty much it. Today, it's all of the technology. You can't buy any piece of technology with the first thing it does is connects to the cloud instantly, using your internet connection as the foundation for it functioning. And if you have that foundation, the internet connection is really poor, the whole application, the whole device, the whole whatever it is going to run very, very poorly. That means that if you have a business and you're relying on all of this technology to run your business, and it's relying on a horrible foundation, then your business is just going to run that horribly, right? And unfortunately, all of this points to the IT provider. And this is where it becomes really important to how do we make everything run much, much better and run much more secure? And this is the overarching OmniNet story is it's an omnipresent, omniscient network, right? And you plug everything through this network. And you have the security stack, which is OmniShield, and you have the network optimization layer, which is the OmniWAN layer.
Wow, that's yeah, that's a great beginning of the story there, because it is one of those things where cybersecurity is, people kind of still struggle with it a little bit, because things are always coming out that are attacking new vectors and yeah, Victor.
Roger.
Sorry, yep. Just there goes my mind. But there's a lot of things in cybersecurity that there's a lot of people that they just don't understand. And, you know, when I look at, if you look at optimizing something, optimizing a connection, I can see where that's key, because I've been in several areas where the internet connection was good sometimes and was absolutely horrible other times because of the amount of people that were on the network or whatever. And so to be able to optimize, I think, is going to be key, because not everywhere in the country is the same. Unfortunately, it should be that way. And for all those out there that think that one day we're going to go to wireless everything, I've got a bridge to sell you, because that's just not happening. But anyways, so from the cybersecurity aspect and what OmniNet does, let's talk a little bit about what is it shielding you from, and what are some of the things that it's doing on the security side, and what makes, obviously this is a cloud-based thing, or do you guys have hardware involved too?
There's hardware involved, but all of the security and everything is performed in the cloud. The hardware is just to connect you to our cloud. It's for the SD-WAN portion.
Okay. And that's what's optimizing your network and all that kind of good stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So so what do we protect? Because there's so many new things coming out, and I think a lot of people get confused about what they need to protect against. What is the shield portion of that doing to protect the end user?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you know, it's some people they want to know all of the details. All of the people they're just kind of like their eyes glaze over when you start you know telling them. But there's quite a bit of functionality, and some stuff we use like enterprise type software, and some stuff we just kind of we have our own things that we plug in, and there's a lot of modular pieces, but you know, there's all of the UTM functionality, you know, which is your firewall, your IPS, your content web filtering, your antivirus, application control, DLP, all of those components. And then we have other things like DDoS prevention and like some other stuff that are there. Some pieces are more global, some pieces are very individual. But there's a lot of like just customized to each customer parts of it. And one of the important pieces of running it in the cloud is even though you can go out and buy a UTM and some great UTMs, as soon as you start getting down to the smaller versions, which really most MSPs use and all the small businesses use, no small business is going to go, yeah, I'll take the $25,000 version of the UTM. Like, you know, no, I'll take the $5,000 version. So once you start going down, you know, the vendors really, to make these things perform at a reasonable speed, they remove a lot of the inspection out. You know, and the big advantage that you get is when you're doing it cloud side, you have the full enterprise capability. None of the inspection is removed out. You have all of it, and it's all really at wire speed. So that's the big benefit of it. You have a lot more protection, and the protection is a lot faster.
So you hit a point there, right? Like the SSL inspection has always been one of the most needed items of a firewall, but also one of the biggest things that drag the connection and everything that's going through that network. So, you know, with OmniNet, is with the bridge or without the bridge able to handle the SSL inspection a lot more efficiently? Or obviously with the Omni bridge, it's going to allow that SD-WAN capability to really declutter the highway. It's kind of like you have that image on the website. Obviously that's the preferred way, but can OmniNet also kind of resolve that main issue that a lot of IT providers have had with just a regular UTM?
Yeah, because we're not on the Omni bridge. It's again, it's not doing any inspection, right? All of it passes through to our massive servers in the cloud, And that's where you get all of that deep inspection and everything, right? And you got like just tons of Xeon cores just dedicated to doing all that crunching, which you're never going to have like on a small box. So, but yes, absolutely. And like just to give you some examples, right? It's the amount of viruses that you check for. It's like on a smaller version of that, they usually typically go about 3 years back, and they say, okay, everything that's all the signatures from 3 years, and this is the same with IPS. All the signatures from 3 years, we're going to keep anything past 3 years. We're not going to check for it, just to keep that performance optimized. We run everything, every signature that's ever been written, we check against it. And we can do that. And the other big one is like a file scan size, and you're talking about the evolution of security, how it's always changing, right? So as soon as I think right when ransomware started becoming a thing, people started going, oh, we need some kind of security, right? So a lot of smaller businesses started deploying it, and it just became a big thing. And then the hackers were like, how do we get past these guys? And what we started noticing lately is where before viruses, okay, so step back a bit. All of the smaller boxes, they typically come with a default file scan size of 10 meg, meaning if the file was 10 meg, I'm going to scan it for viruses. If it's 11 meg, I'm not going to scan it. I'm just going to let it through. That's the default setting. 99% of the people don't touch it, don't even know it's there, right? On a lot of the smaller boxes, you can't even change it. The vendor won't let you change it because if you try to increase it, it'll run out of memory. It's just going to kill the box. So what we noticed is the hackers, knowing this, guess what? They're writing all their malware to be 11 meg, right? So some of these little things, and when you started getting into IPS and going, what are the default input buffers? How many packets does it scan across? And all of these variables, all of these things where how the IPS functions, nobody ever changes those, and the hackers know this, especially on the small business side. And all of a sudden now, hey, how did they get through? Well, it's default settings, and they know what they are. And so this is kind of why having a service like this makes it so much better, because obviously there's none of these default settings, and we can change the things, and we can scan for more. We have the capability to do that.
And so you made two great points that I want to make sure that are highlighted. Is one, when someone purchases a firewall, they're assuming you plug it in and everything's gonna just get filtered and everyone's good. So they think default is fine, which is not. And I'm gonna tell you it's not. Don't do it, whatever. But then the second piece is that there are other users that actually will deploy a firewall and actually think that have to know that configuration, but they don't know what the configuration is available. What they don't know is what they don't know. They deploy it into the realm of whatever it is, but then realizing that once it's been deployed, they have to figure out the configuration. Like they have to know what to turn on and who to go through. And there are vendors that either will have it all blocked, and now they got to figure out on what to unblock, or there are firewalls that have everything open, and then they're trying to figure out what to block, right? And so it sounds like OmniNet will kind of take that confusing of whatever each vendor kind of does. It will allow you to go ahead and move forward with being able to just have those settings set up all together. Yeah,
it's very simplified, prevents you from shooting yourself in the foot. It's made that way on purpose. In fact, a story to really highlight that. Initially, we kind of had a little bit of a problem. So we had this tool developed called Shieldtest, and basically, it's really we made it to what are you protected against, right? Or what protection do you have, right? So because what we found is people like, oh no, I have a firewall, I have a UTM, and what is it? It's the Verizon home router. It's like, what? So like we actually had those type of things happen, and then some people. So we make this tool, and it's like, look, what do you have in place? And and then people would run this tool, and they're like, this tool is lying to me, and I thought that the tool was built wrong, right? So I'm like, well, what do you have? It's like, we have a Sophos. I'm like, Sophos is a good box. It should protect against all these things. Or a sonic wall, and then come to find out that they just turned it on and they didn't even enable any of the profiles, any of the scanning, and that goes to show you how people would just buy a product that has a brand name, a good brand name. They would just like turn it on and they would expect it to do magic or anything without properly setting it up and configuring it, and like we went through all of these things and we learned that, hey, the market is really needs a lot of help in this stuff. So we purposely tried to build a product to where it's very easy to set up, very easy to use, and it just works and it does what it's supposed to do without having to go through and change all these tweaking configurations and all that type of stuff.
Now, there's going to be a certain amount of best practices out there, and I would imagine if you guys already have a system to set up to scan and do certain things, you're already going to have some of those things in place where it's going to benefit the business owner, on their network. That how much configuration do they have to go into? Because I know some of these things can be, and I know you said it was easy, but some of these things can be super complicated to learn. So how would the average person get out there and get this set up, and what would that look like?
So it's about as difficult to set up as a Linksys router. It's made to be extremely easy. I've had people who are even like non-technical, able to figure out and set it up in their home, type of thing. So, like somebody like our sales guy or somebody like that, so it's fairly simple. Now again, a home network is, one flat network, no VLANs, nothing like that. So it's simple, right? It's once you start getting into a business environment, there might be VLANs on the switch. You might have a trunk port. There might be some other stuff like that. But typically, your level 1 tech, you don't have to have a security engineer go in and design this thing and set it all up. You can have your guy who sets up your Wi-Fi, or your guy who sets up your regular switch and that type of stuff can easily set this up.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, because I think that's what scares a lot of people from trying things out sometimes, is they're like, well, how much learning am I going to have to do in order to make this work for me? And, in VLANing and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole separate issue. If people don't know how to do that, they probably should learn. And you can even do it on your home network, people. So it's not that difficult once you learn whatever system you're using. So with OmniNet, obviously it's doing a lot with the stuff in the cloud to make the service better. And the way I guess I'm kind of almost looking at this is from a consumer standpoint. If you look at things like, one of the best streaming services out there, probably in my opinion, is Netflix. And that's because whatever magic they do to make it so that you have a smooth stream, whether it's at HD, 4K, whatever it might be, it just works. And even when you lose your internet connection, it's so far ahead that it will work and still keep that stream on going for quite a few minutes before it actually drops off. So if you get a blip or whatever in your network, it's not a big deal. It's nice and standard. Oh, and we just lost Andrew. And we lost Paco. So here we are talking to ourselves. Wow, this is really good. This has never happened before. Interesting. Hopefully he'll get clicked back in here. Hopefully that was an internet connection issue. Sometimes people will hit the wrong button and kind of pop out, so not a big deal. Oh, and we're going to monologue. 24 minutes in, alone at last. I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. Here we go. Now, here's Andrew back again. All right.
We were just talking about unstable residential. And I realized I'm actually, okay, just a quick story. I'm in the process of moving, so I packed up a lot of stuff, and I have like an LTE backup that I unplugged, because I was getting ready to go. And I completely forgot that the Spectrum over here, it fails all the time. So I quickly plugged it back in. So I'm currently right now, I'm failed over to the LTE network. So I apologize if the quality is not as good.
No, it's quality. You're fine. You're perfectly fine. It was just funny to drop off, and Paco's out of the room right now, so we were kind of a little standstill. So, but not a big deal.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, what were we talking about? I don't even remember now. It was like 5 minutes ago now. Yeah, so the obviously we were talking about from the consumer side, we're talking about Netflix and streaming and all that kind of stuff, and how they do stuff in the background to give you that flawless service. So that's kind of the way I look at OmniNet. But you're doing all that stuff in the cloud, and then obviously from a security standpoint, you're doing a lot more things than it sounds like other small boxes they're not doing, and especially it sounds like when people are installing these other boxes. Maybe they're not setting them up correctly to do what they need to do. Now, you said that you used to have a test piece of software that people could test on a network.
Yeah, it's still there. It's called Shieldtest.com.
Okay.
And just the website, you click start, and it takes like 30 seconds, and it does it right on the fly. And it's going to basically test wherever you're testing from. Is going to test that connection to see if you're going through a UTM, if you're going through a firewall.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
And that's actually you can actually MSPs can brand that, right? So they can, if they want it, they have their logo on it and their contact information on it. And actually, if somebody if they send out their link, their custom link, the branded link, and if I run the test on there and I click give me the detailed report, it'll send them an email saying Andrew ran this test. This is what he scored.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's people use it as a lead gen as well.
Gotcha. Now, with the information that's putting out there, is it for the end user to look at and go and understand what's being done, or it's just like, hey, my score sucks and we probably need to do something about this?
Yeah, it's probably more for, hey, my score sucks, when you do something about this. Like an end user is not going to sit there and understand, hey, why did I fail the IPS test? Like we try to make it where it says the credit card theft test instead of like a DLP,
Okay.
or it does like a port scan. It sends the iCar virus, which is not really a virus, but it's everybody has signatures. It's kind of like a test virus. Sends it across zipped, just to check, hey, is your UTM picking this up and blocking it?
Gotcha. Okay, that's very cool. No, that's very cool. All right, so moving on so obviously there's a lot of cybersecurity stuff that's going on in the background, and we could probably get down to the weeds looking at that stuff and seeing what it does. And I think from our audience's standpoint, I think they understand a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today. And when they're thinking about what the next steps are and what they need to do, what are some of the things that are coming down the pike that you guys are looking at to protect? Because obviously the game is changing. It seems like, if not daily, hourly, and minute by minute.
Yeah, it is. And we get updates all the time. And like some quick stats. It's as far as AV signatures, we get approximately 2 million a week. That's how many AV signatures we get. And then web content filtering, it's well over 1 million, like 1.5 million per week updates of categorized for content filtering, categorized websites. But as far as what we're doing that's new and different, one of the things that we're actually getting ready to put into beta here right now is Omni Access. So whenever this whole pandemic happened and people started working from home and everything, we introduced a home office extension, which is basically for our existing customers. It was a low cost. You can now have an extension of your network at home. It'll do SD-WAN, one internet connection, and you're as protected as you are in the office. So we kind of introduced that. And one of the things that a lot of the MSPs were asking for is something even more low cost, like a software that they can put on one computer, as opposed to protecting the entire home. There's a lot of value to protecting the entire home. I'm probably not going to get into the details of that. We do actually see a huge spike in attacks to all the home routers, home security cameras, all the home appliances. There's just a flood of new exploits, a flood of new attacks, because hackers know people are working from home. They know if they can jump on your router at home, from there they could probably jump on your computer and then ride your VPN over to work and then hack into work that way. So that's, there's that going on. But basically, we're going to be releasing Omni Access, which is a software client. It's a thin client. Basically, it's a zero trust network access, which connects up to the OmniNet cloud. It does all your filtering, everything, protects you the same way that you were in the office, gives you access to all the resources in the office as well. So all the connection is all scanned and everything. but it's made to be for one computer.
That's pretty cool, because I think that's going to become, I think that from this pandemic, I think a lot of people are looking at it from a standpoint of there's a lot of people that can do their job from home.
Right.
Now, there's quite a lot of people that can't do their job from home for various reasons. But for the most part, I think there's going to be a lot more people working from home. And this is probably the next evolution of, IT consultants, MSPs, and so on, of being able to protect people at their homes, because that's always been an issue. We've used VPNs and stuff in the past, and those work, to a certain extent. But as far as having the cybersecurity side of it, not so much, even when you're because obviously you're logging in through a computer at home and it's going into your work. And not only that, there's also speed issues and stuff like that. So
yeah, the world's changed. Not everybody can work from home. He said, my long guy tried to convince me he can after half a foot. I'm like, dude, I don't think the quality is the same from you working from home as it is for when you could.
Robot controlled lawnmowers. There we go.
Yep.
And then we all die.
That's right.
They come back and kill us. Yeah, exactly.
That's the AI invasion right there.
So Paco, any questions so far of what we've gone over? I know you were AFK there for a minute, but we lost Andrew for a couple minutes when he dropped off. So I was here monologuing by myself as people were laughing at me.
That's pretty funny. I mean, well, Jeff is the talent, is like I like to say, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, I was at a loss for words. But anyways, go ahead.
You a loss for words? Anyway, but no, I mean, I think that and this may be some stuff you already had touched on while I was had to step away. But I think for a lot of us that are trying to battle this remote from home or remote work and telework and those working from home, trying to keep everything safe and secure. And then, trying to create that as best as possible, recreate that perimeter that we can. I'm just curious as far as some of the feedback from your current partners on, some scenarios where OmniNet was really able to help out their unique cases with some of their clients.
Yeah, we have we have some smaller, some larger customers. One of the larger ones, they have quite a bit of people working, and they have like hundreds of people that started working from home. And the main IT manager there, they have an on-site IT guy. He was he was struggling. It's just like everything changed, and trying to manage this and everything, and especially him accessing stuff. So he's like, let me try this home office extension thing. So tried it out, and he was just like, wow, this is like a world of difference. It's just, I'm literally like as if I'm in the office. I'm sitting there and working the same way. Before, it's like I have to connect via VPN. I got to do this, and it's like there's a whole process to it, right? And things are slower, and something's not working right. And there was always like just this it's all of a sudden I hate doing things, and he said as soon as I put this in, it literally felt like I was in the office. It was like there's no software to connect with or anything like that. And what we're trying to do with the Omni Access is trying to replicate the same thing. So it's a automatic connect. It's like it's always on type of situation. So even if right now I'm sitting here, if I took my laptop and walked out, so I'm not behind OmniNet, and I went to Starbucks and it connected on the Wi-Fi there, it would automatically connect, right? And then when I come back here, it automatically disconnect. There's like no intervention for me at all. So it's made to be intelligent. It's made to know where it is, and it's made to always protect me no matter what.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that a lot of solution providers were really trying to get that extension, right, to really make sure that partners were able to have a seamless and more secure atmosphere. And you may have already talked about this, but once everyone started kind of going remote work or work from home, have you noticed the uptick of just things hitting endpoints and such when the transition before, like when it was just in the office for some of your partners?
Yeah. In fact, it's like week after week, I'm sitting there and then noticing this rise in attacks to the home devices. Actually did a quick 5-minute YouTube video on our YouTube channel about this, just kind of going through and looking at, I get the reports every week. Here's how our entire customer base is being attacked, right? and it's all the top attacks went from all the traditional things they were before, and most of them are now all home based. Everything that's home based, and I'm sitting there and looking. It's like we don't have that many home customers. 90% of our customers are businesses. It's like all the home ones are just like the home office extensions. And then I'm sitting there and looking at it, and it was amazing how much it just completely changed. The attack surface changed, the vector changed, right? all of that changed like really quickly, and it continued to rise. And that's one thing that really shocked me of how quickly that happened, and how quickly the hackers just shifted gears and started attacking the home. They knew there was a vulnerable spot.
And obviously this is obviously through, whether it was a major ISP's own gear or their flimsy, whatever router that hasn't been patched in X amount of years and things of that nature, I imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was a ton of new vulnerabilities in several home routers. Just a ton of zero-day. There was like a big thing on the CISA website, just warning people, warning CISOs. It's like there's just a huge spike in all of these zero-day vulnerabilities in all of these home routers. I mean, some of them they weren't even planning to patch, and then they were just warning CISOs. It's like, hey, your people are working from home. This is a huge threat to organizations. People working from home having these type of home routers, so it's we're starting to see this evolution of companies saying, hey, we got to protect the home use, the home office now, not just, go work from home. It's like, we got to protect your home, because it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna, instead of keeping all the money at the bank and the vault and everything, and the manager leaves his key there, security locked up and everything. It's like manager's gonna go put all the money in his pockets and go drive home with it. Where are the robbers gonna go?
Yeah. And then I guess this, and this is more of like your perspective on how, solutions like OmniNet are much more capable of doing these things. But there are a lot of software providers that have a quote unquote software firewall, right? And that's what they advertise as, yep, will help with remote work. What would you say is kind of the disadvantage of having a software firewall on an endpoint level versus actually having something that's a perimeter that would help for someone that's remote or working from home?
So there's two main things. The one main thing is hackers they jump from host to host, right? They're attacking the routers, not just to gain access to the routers. The reason why these router vulnerabilities are a threat to corporate networks are because the CISA knows that they're using that just as a jump point to get to that computer and then go across a VPN. And the other part of it kind of ties into the first one. And the second one is this: is we've seen a lot of malware that what it does is it goes in and it disables the local firewall, the local virus scaring, the local firewall, those type of things. In fact, we've seen some that purposely disable like the anti-malware, the antivirus, but don't disable the VPN on purpose. Because they want the VPN connection up, right? They know that VPN connection is what accesses the office, right? So a lot of the more advanced malware now it's doing those type of things. And as soon as a user clicks on something and allows this thing to run, right? It's gonna and the way it functions is this: it's usually like a PowerShell script or something that is not a file, right? And what it does is it disables the antivirus, then goes downloads the rest of it, which the antivirus would have caught if it was enabled, but it's not anymore. And then it runs the full malware suite that it wants to run. And that's kind of the order of it does it. And that's why it's less effective.
Gotcha.
And the problem is this is these hackers it's a big business. And we've been funding them for the last almost a decade now, right? I think it's been like around 7 or 8 years. We've been funding them with Bitcoin, paying for the ransom, and what are they doing with all the money?
They're investing.
They're not buying yachts. They're reinvesting into the business that's very profitable, right? That's what any smart entrepreneur would do, any smart businessman would do. And that's exactly what they're doing. And these things are much, much more sophisticated now.
Now, from a standpoint of, I can't remember what the last number was. Somebody might out there might know, but how many, I think it's billions of dollars as far as what the hackers out there are getting as a collective group. I think it's billions of dollars a year, and I don't know how many billions that is, but it's a lot. It's a lot of money. I know that.
It is, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's well over 10 billion for last year, and the interesting thing about that is I kind of wanted to get a gauge because I'm sitting there and going, all right, these are the ones they know about,
right?
So I wanted to get a gauge of how many do they not know about, especially in our world, right? So I remember, I think this was actually at a Channel Pro. I was giving a presentation, and I asked the audience, it's all MSPs there. I'm like, how many people here have had a customer in the last 6 months that got ransomware? And it's like almost every hand went up, and I'm like, how many people here ever reported, that to the FBI or to authorities or anything like that? And maybe 3 hands went up. So
Wow.
I don't know if that's fully representative of the entire world, but it gives you an idea of, sure, they say it's like 10 or 15 billion last year that was paid for ransomware, but how much was actually done and not reported?
It's a good point.
Right.
So,
Or even just not even paid and restored from backup, right? And being able to get that route of what hasn't been reported too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think the more interesting, the reason why it's interesting for me of what was paid is how much funding are the hackers have to improve their malware, to improve their capabilities.
and it's probably from a standpoint of it's probably not as complicated as most people think. But again, if you don't know what to look for and to protect yourself, then you're kind of at a loss. So it's like taking darts and throwing them in a dartboard to seeing what's going to maybe stick and protect yourself out there. It's yeah,
very true. And I remember people saying that, probably not so the case now, but people were saying, I'll just pay the ransomware. It's not that bad. Like they sit there and do a calculation. It's like, oh, we got like 20 desktops or something, and if we have to pay, it's only like $1,000, and or whatever it was at the time. So I'd rather just do that than spend this much money on cybersecurity. It's not worth the payoff. Like that always grows. And the other problem is you don't know if you're going to get decrypted. And the other problem is you're now funding them so that they can attack you better next time.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened is we funded them so they can attack us better next time. And here we are.
That is an insane thought process. It's, and I think a lot of people, if you look at it from a regular standpoint of things like insurance, none of us wants to pay for insurance. Nobody wants. Insurance sucks. But
especially when your premiums go up, you really don't want to pay for the insurance.
Exactly. Or when you're state of Michigan, you're paying for underinsured or uninsured motorists. That's a whole nother issue. But when you think about things like this, and you think about your business and the stuff that you have, if you had whatever documents, pictures, documents, CAD drawings, all this kind of stuff, how much of that is actually worth it to you to protect, to make sure that you don't lose that? I would think, and I don't understand the group out there that goes, I'll just pay the ransom if it happens. And there's 2 types of people out there. There's those that have been hacked, and there's those that haven't been hacked yet. Those are only 2 types. There is no.
Or they don't know they've been hacked.
Yeah, or that, yes. Because at the end of the day, people are going to. They're going to let their guard down, and they're going to get attacked. And so, I think it would be better to have something in place that's going to protect them. Now, you said in the beginning? Did you say that people were using your boxes also at home in some configurations?
Yeah. So we call that the home office extension. So basically, it's it makes it feel like you're in the office. You have you can have the same security policy, or you can have a different one, but it basically protects the entire home. So what that does is it prevents this, that the hacker gets into your IoT devices, your stereo equipment, your security cameras, whatever you have, right? And then from there tries to bounce over, since it's a home trusted network, bounces over to your laptop or computer, and then goes to your corporate office. It prevents all of that from happening. And, on top of that, people use it to just, filter the internet for their kids too, and
gotcha.
That type of stuff.
And now is that a piece of software, or is that actually a piece of hardware that they put in the network?
So that the home office extension is a piece of hardware that they
Okay.
put into their network. Now,
Gotcha.
I'll tell you this: it's during the pandemic, it was a little bit difficult because people were. I can't go into people's homes right now, to install it. So they tried to do the shipping and the, give them instructions type of stuff, and that
Yeah, good
there's
luck
that.
with that.
Yeah, there's a challenge there as well, and that's kind of where people said, look, we need a piece of software where we could do this remotely.
Okay.
That was the whole Omni Access, getting that going.
I would think from a standpoint though, it's still better to have a piece of hardware that can, basically talk to the cloud and talk in between, even if it's not used for connecting to the office or whatever, just kind of protecting you in your home, protecting your personal network, all that kind of good stuff too. So
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's kind of like, having the security outside the vault or having them inside the vault. Once the vault door is open and the robbers come in with the guns, security guard can only do so much.
yeah, and we always talk about layered approaches, and you need to have layers coming into your, I think John Dubinsky's always used the analogy of a castle, moats and drawbridges and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Which just tells me he's freaking old. But other than that, anyways, Paco, any other questions on OmniNet or anything we haven't covered so far that you can think of?
The only other thing I would probably want to set, or at least have Andrew dive into more is, I think another barrier to getting into replacing whatever device you have, upgrading to a firewall, switching a firewall, is learning a whole new interface and learning a whole new set of settings and things of that nature. Can you go into more on how new partners switching from whatever they had previously to your system and how easy that they've been able to kind of just get their network going with the interface?
So we have a partner success academy, which gives training, and it's like we want you to be successful, obviously. So I'll tell you this: for the most part, people have picked it up pretty quickly and pretty easily. There's been sometimes where it's been more difficult, and I think the reason it's more difficult is if something is always functions one way and it always does that way. If your firewall, all of the stuff is on-prem and your interface to it is right there on that box, and we're all used to plugging in and going to your gateway IP address, where's the interface and everything. If you're used to that and you just do that without listening or reading instructions, you're going to have a very, very difficult time, because the interface is in the cloud. It's made to be MSP centric. It's made to, like the box phones home and you control it from up there. So like you just need to get over that, mentally get over that. This doesn't work the same way that all of the things that you've been doing for the last 20 or 30 years do. This works a little bit differently. And we, like some of those partners, it took them like up to like 3 installs to where they're like, oh, I get it, and then it clicks in, and so we see this trend, right, with our MSPs. It's kind of like number 1, support tickets. Number 2, it's like maybe 1 support ticket. Number 3, they call in and go, oh, I get it now, and then there is like, next thing you know, there's 30 orders, and then so it's kind of like really slow to start, and then once it kind of clicks in, they're like, oh, I love this stuff, and they just take off and install it everywhere, and they love it. But it's whenever you've been doing this for a long time and doing a certain way, it's just kind of getting the hang of that new way of doing it. So that's why we have the Partner Success Academy, to kind of walk people through that and make sure that they don't have that bad experience on the first one.
No, yeah, that's great. Yeah, because it's one of those where you've learned something for so long and then you're trying to adjust. Like you said, if you're in a frame of mind of how something used to work or how you're used to setting something up and then adjusting, that's awesome that they have, you guys have that.
If I put my dad in a Tesla, he's going to hate it. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Now, if I put my wife in a Tesla, she thinks she'd love it. So anyways, so let's see. So as far as basically people that want to get started with OmniNet, What are some of the things that they need to do to get signed up, and kind of what's the best approach to get started with getting all the things they need to learn the system and from there?
So number one is we're channel only, so you have to be an IT provider, MSP, break fix, and offering that service to your customers. Number two is just email info@omninet.io, call our 1-800 number on our website. Website is omninet.io, and just ask to speak to somebody in sales, and then they'll get you set up as a partner. It's not a long process, but once they get you set up as a partner, we do have like NFRs where you can play with it, install it at your office, install it at your home, get used to it and everything, and then like they'll kind of walk you through that entire process. But it's not very difficult. Just contact us, one of many ways, and happy to get you set up, get you to try it out. It's like really there's no commitment, right? It's we want you to be happy. So if for some weird reason this just doesn't fit to what you're doing, we don't want to constantly deal with you being depressed either. So it's look, try the NFR. If it doesn't work for you, send it back, refund your money, everything's good, right? It like if you install it or 1 or 2 customers and you decide you want to cancel, there's no 1, 2, 3 year commitment, none of that type of stuff. It's you just pay month to month type of thing. So
that's very cool. Yeah, I love that approach because again, the proof is in the pudding on the product, and there's going to be certain people that it's going to be for, and then there's going to be others that it might not be. Now, as far as the barrier to entry, as far as proving you're an IT provider, we've had this problem in the past where maybe a newer IT consultant or something like that, just getting started in business and maybe has some smaller clients. What types of things do they have to come up with to prove that they are a IT consultant or a business owner at that point?
Nothing big, just like, DNA sample. We're going to have to fly. No, I'm just kidding. Like, really, if you have a website, your email's not at gmail.com, type of thing. And you say you're an IT consultant and you look like an IT consultant, we're not going to question it. We're not going to go out there and go, oh no. I mean, obviously if it comes down to it and you bought this thing and we see that you're just having it for your own business or whatever the case may be, we're gonna do something about it. We're gonna say, hey, we need you to go and use an MSP, and we'll direct you to an MSP. So I mean, it's like it becomes pretty obvious, and people typically don't lie about it. Like we have end users who call us and everything, and we're like, hey, do you have an IT provider? And if they do, we'll say, well, contact them and we'll work with them. If they don't, we connect them to one of our certified partners, and we provide them that lead.
Very cool. Paco, any last questions?
No, I think that was pretty much it. I just wanted to highlight some of the ease of use and kind of the new way of kind of thinking about this, and exactly everything was been talked about.
Yeah, this new thing is called SASE, SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, not SASSY.
So there's a reason why he's laughing so hard. If you don't know,
you guys are killing me. Oh my God. Oh no, it's funny though. It's fun. You know what? If you can make a joke out of it and make it something that's an actual real word, it's kind of funny. So I get it.
Yeah.
I hate. Yeah. So if you don't know, I hate acronyms. I think they're stupid. I think people are just lazy by not saying the whole freaking words. But whatever. Everybody has their own take on that.
Right.
So, but that is funny.
Yeah, that's a Gartner name. I mean, they changed it. This is the third one that they're using now. So, but I think this one's gonna stick, unfortunately. But
sassy.
I like it. And we're sassy.
Yeah,
all right,
get sassy at omninet.com or omninet.io.
So, Andrew, is there any other lasting words that you want to that we haven't talked about, or anything you want to add before we end the show off?
Yeah, I think I just want to reiterate, contact us, and we'll be happy to talk more about it. If you have any questions, happy to talk about that stuff. I'm always happy to talk about all things security, all things networking. It is my passion. So please feel free to reach out anytime.
All right, very cool. And we will have all that in the show notes. You can go right there. And as always, we always say, go out there. If it's just something that interests you, go out there and give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah. Learn something new today, because this might be the thing that you need to move your business forward and make your life easier. So obviously they're making it very easy, especially with the not for retail or resale stuff and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. And hey, sign up, give it a try, and see what you can do with it.
Yep.
Andrew, I was going to say thanks for coming on, and appreciate you coming on again and just talking with us and hanging out. And it's been a fun conversation. I know we've gone over a lot of different things, but I think there's a lot of good information that we pass along to the folks out there. So
yeah, Jeff, Paco, thank you very much for having me. This has been a great time.
Very cool. And hopefully next time you're moved and you can use your real internet service.
Yeah, I think it failed back over. I'm looking. I always have a constant ping going over there on the right, and that guy, right?
Yeah, we're always the worst ones, right? All right, Paco. If people want to find out more about you, where would they go?
They can tune into this fine programming every Friday live at 11 Central, 12 noon Eastern. Or they can find us in TechCon Unplugged, September 17th through the 19th in Chicago, Illinois.
And before I end the show off, Paco, should I mention some of the things that, or maybe just give a little tease of some of the things that might be coming down the pike?
Negative. I think we should keep it all to everyone. There will be a fun highlight update that will be in the super secret Facebook group later today. So if you are not supporting the show, head over to patreon.com, find the show. It's, I think, what, $1 a show, Jeff, you mentioned before?
$1 a show. It's patreon.com/MSP Unplugged, and you'll get that information there. So yeah, we've got some exciting news coming up, and I was just going to give a little teaser up there, but nothing, not to name any names or anything like that, but we got some pretty cool stuff coming down the pike, and I think it'll be very interesting for a lot of people out there. So you can definitely check that out over there. And with that, you can watch live and hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com every week. It's youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. It's very simple. Everywhere you go, MSP Unplugged. You can subscribe and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. You can also use your favorite podcasting app to take us with you wherever you go, driving to a client, doing the dishes, laundry, mowing the grass, all that kind of good stuff. You can have us in your ear, and hopefully we give you a couple good laughs and make your time go fast. And hopefully you learn something new. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.